Welcome to podcast number 3, episode 3.
Episode 3.
However you want to call it. Good thing this isn't Star Wars. We'd have to go backwards. Like, this would actually be the first one that we did.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, we start with number 4.
Yeah. Oh, we're not there yet. Shoot. So, we haven't done a podcast in a couple weeks, and we just need to be more consistent. We're aware. But we got a new stuff, so we've been messing around with that, and
Hopefully it's sounding a little better.
yes.
It seems like it is in our headphones anyway.
Yeah.
So
It sounds good to us, but so today I thought that I had a couple things that I was like, oh, we can talk about this or we could talk about that. And I ask a lot of questions to people around me. And I wrote this really good notes about trees and stuff, but I think that trees will come at a later date. And I think today we should talk about being created with purpose. Do you know what purpose means?
I don't
In
know.
your own words? What's your own words? What's your own words definition of purpose?
Purpose, I think, would be like your calling, what you're here for, what you're
Okay.
supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So the definition is the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. And that's the noun. If you use it as a verb, it's have as one's intention or objective. So like on purpose, you purposefully did this. I think that sometimes we get so lost and beat down by the world and the things of the world that we forget we are created with purpose. And even now, I'm 44. I still don't 100% know my purpose. Can you say with 100% certainty that you're like, this is my purpose. This is why I'm here.
No.
No. As you were growing up and as a child and a teenager, did you think about purpose?
No.
No,
I
not at
didn't.
all.
I wasn't thinking more than a couple days ahead when I was younger.
Yeah, that's true. I used to think that my purpose in life was to be a pop star. And, yep. And I used to sing all the time, and my mom and my aunts will tell me that I made up songs and I just sang all the time. So, growing up, I was like, my purpose is to be a pop star. Yeah.
Well, what happened?
Oh, life. Life happened. A couple kids, jobs, reality sunk in.
Yeah, real life.
But I guess if we let go of the dream and hold on to real life. So I want to start in Genesis. So Genesis 1:27. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Now, I know this doesn't speak directly at purpose, but I found it to be pretty awesome and awe-inspiring, I guess, because when you think about being created in God's own image. So my image of God in my mind is a supreme, beautiful being that, is just incredible. But if we're reading this verse, really, he's probably looks like us, like if we're created in his image, humans are pretty.
Yeah. I always assume he looks just like the average dude that people don't notice.
Okay. Yeah. But he sits up in heaven on a throne, and he created us like him, to look like him, I guess. It was pretty cool. So we when we look in the mirror, it speaks to self-esteem too, though, because we're not told this, we're created in God's image. If you didn't grow up in church, nobody ever said, hey, you're created in God's image, and we put so much pressure on ourselves for looks and clothes and, things that really don't matter.
Right.
And, when in reality, or our hair is bad. Oh, my hair is bad. Well,
Okay. Well, it doesn't change you at all.
no. And if we're created in God's image, maybe his hair's bad too. So that makes it cool.
More than likely.
It's cool.
Well, yeah, he gets bedhead too, man.
Oh, here's our dog. So, and then the next verse is Psalm 139, and it's verses 13 to 18. You made all the delicate inner parts in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was being formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me, O God. They cannot be numbered. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of sand. And when I wake up, you are still with me. I found this to be cool because if you think back about, like I had kids, and when I had kids, I didn't think about them. I mean, I thought about them growing, but I never thought that God was literally had every part of that. He was in every part of that. And not only that, when he created us, he was in that, but he was also, he has a purpose for us. So when we were being made in the womb, he created us to be exactly what we are because of what our purpose is. And I think that's really cool if you think about it. We don't think beyond, like you said, 2 hours or 2 days or whatever. We don't think beyond that. And but he saw it all. And it says this part where it says, how precious are your thoughts about me, O God? They cannot be numbered. So we think of God as like, we put him in a human box because that's just what we know. But he's supernatural, and he doesn't think like we think. And so his thoughts about us, you can't even number them. This says that they outnumber the grains of sand. And if you think about sand, when you grab sand, if you have a handful of sand and you let some of it go out, there's so many grains of sand. So from day one in the womb, he's plotted out our life for us. He's went before us. He's seen what we're going to do. And he created us to be exactly what we needed to be to do that, to reach that purpose. And I think that that's really pretty amazing. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
It's like he's looking at everything like on a global scale. Like we just know our little life here and in this little blip.
Yeah. Yeah.
These dogs are going crazy.
Yeah,
that's
our
what
dogs,
happens when we don't pay attention to them.
Our dogs are running through the house like crazy wild animals with a little stuffed animal. But so do you think that if you had, let's just think about when you're a teenager, and I feel like when you get to like junior high, middle school, that you start to like discover who you are really and where you're going to go and what you're going to do and what you want to do and what your desires are, and you're finding out who you are as a person and who you want to be for the rest of your life. Basically, you start thinking about those kinds of things. So I feel like if somebody would have said to me at 13 years old, God created you in the womb he started way back then, and he created you for a purpose. I wonder if my life would have been different. I don't know. I mean, who knows what as 13-year-old kids do, but
It's hard telling.
what do you
Because you
think?
can do all the right things as a parent anyway, and you just never really know.
Yeah, that's true. The I just wonder if there was a point in time where you could, had you had this information 40 years ago, not really 40 for me, but like 30, if I'd have had this information 30 years ago and looked at it the way I'm looking at it now, maybe how my life, I would have lived life a little differently. You wouldn't have had the questions.
I definitely would have been different,
You
I
think,
think,
it would have made you different?
if I would have been exposed to it more.
Yeah. Yeah, and we search for identity all the time, I think, as people and humans. We're always searching for identity. We identify, we call our things like I'm a manager, so that's my identity. I manage. I'm a manager. You're a maintenance man. That's your identity. You're a maintenance man. I'm a female. You're a male. We're always grasping out into the world for pieces of our identity that put together when really we should be
That's not my identity.
well,
That's
no,
my occupation.
no, yes, but it's a label that is used to describe you.
Yes.
Also, like you could be labeled a photographer, a guitarist, a a hobby hopper,
A hobby hopper.
because that's what you do, hobbies. But that's what I mean. So like I'm a nerd. I love to read and I love to note take and journal, and I love learning things. Like who looks up words? I love looking up words. Like reading the definition of a word changes it for me. But anyway, we are all put into identity like boxes. And part of that searching for our identity, it changes constantly. And I think now that I'm saved and I read the word and I'm reading his words, my identity is, I find my identity in him. I'm a child of God. He created me. He created me for a purpose. And that's what I want my identity to be. All these other things I do, that's really great. But my identity, I want to be a child of God, a follower of God, a person who lives a morally right life. That's what I want my identity to be. Now, 15 years ago, I didn't really care that much about.
Well, I think it still makes a difference. Better late than never, I guess.
Well, no, of course it still makes a difference, but I heard once that we're not of this world. So it is a reasoning why we sometimes feel uncomfortable here, why we don't feel like we have a place, because we're looking in the wrong directions, because we're not
We
of
keep
this
searching
world.
here, and we shouldn't be.
Yeah. This is just a stepping stone to where we ultimately want to be, which is with God in heaven. But to think that and then to live in the world the way the world is. Look at Instagram. Look at YouTube. Look at all these influencers. I mean, there is so much media and so much stuff that you can soak into yourself. But ultimately what you do is compare yourself to those kinds of things, or, I want to try that. I want to do something different, which is great. Like you're like, oh, yesterday I watched a video on making birdhouses. Now I want to be a birdhouse maker.
I can't help it. I just can't help it. I research and I learn. I want to do.
I guess there's nothing wrong with that.
10 years ago, I couldn't change the oil in the car. Now I do all kinds of stuff on a car.
Well, Yeah, because we change.
Yeah.
We grow. And I think the same thing goes with in Christianity. We grow. So 2 years ago, when I recommitted my life, I grew, and I've been growing ever since, and I'm still growing, and I don't think you're ever supposed to stop growing.
No.
I think you're always going to be taking more steps and more steps and more steps and more steps to do, what your purpose is. And so the next verse I have is Romans 8:28. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. So I think that this verse could be taken many ways, but I like the part where it says that it can work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. That doesn't mean that you and I have the same purpose, and I think that, everybody has a different purpose. And in thinking about creation in a way that we've spent so much time trying to figure out what we're good at and then doing those things, when in reality we should be asking God, what's our purpose? What do I need to be doing? What do you need from me? And how can you help me get there? That's learning to rely on God is a real struggle sometimes, like taking things out of your own hands and learning to rely on God. But what do you think about God has a purpose for you? Do you think God has a purpose for you?
Yes. What's frustrating is that you never really know if you're doing God's purpose for you. You know what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. But I have a different opinion.
For instance, a pastor is a pastor, and our pastor is our age, fairly young, and so in my opinion, she has a lot of life left. How does she know that being a pastor is what her purpose is? It might not even happen yet. It's just something he's put her into. She needs to be here for this, but I'm still not done, so.
Well, and I think you hit the nail on the head, but maybe instead of saying that we only have one purpose, maybe we have multiple purposes.
I would hope so.
You know what I mean? So maybe
because I'm good at a lot of things. I don't need just one purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could be useful elsewhere as well.
I think somebody once told me that your purpose may strictly to be that in 1992 at 10 a.m. you were at McDonald's and you spoke to this woman and she, you affected her and that could have been your only purpose. Well, I don't think that's accurate, but if you look at life that way and you look at life in terms of your purpose is for a certain, when you meet certain people, the conversation you have, or how you help them, or anything, But I do think that your purpose, more people have multiple purposes, and also that maybe things that you do along the way help you step into your full purpose. You may feel called. I feel called to be a pastor. And so you take those steps and you become a pastor, but then God says, great job, let's elevate you. Then I'm going to call you to be an evangelist, or I'm going to call you to,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So there's...
These dogs it's what happens when we don't pay attention to them. They drive us crazy.
It's our
They do it
fault.
during football too.
I know.
Makes me insane.
Podcasting and football is... It's not good for the dogs.
It's when we need them quiet and we're not paying attention to them. They're like freak out mode.
Yeah. I think that we but I also think that God will communicate with you. So and I think he communicates with everybody differently. I think he communicates with people the way they need to be communicated to. Like when I pray, when I'm talking to God, he shows me something, or I'm reading in a book and something really pops out at me, so I think that there's different ways, but I think God, if you ask, God will tell you whether you're on the right track or not, and I think some of it is like what you really feel led to. So let's say that, so you play guitar. So what if God is saying to you, Cory, I really, really want you to play boring contemporary worship music in church on Sunday morning. And you feel that.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Because that also could be a part of it. God gives us a purpose and he gives us a calling, and we choose to ignore it because it's not something that we feel like we want to do.
I've thought about that, like, because I dabbled with it for a minute trying to learn some songs, and I just wasn't feeling it. So I'm like, well, what if I'm supposed to be like, if I'm supposed to be here, what am I supposed to do? I can't just leave. And luckily enough, it
didn't happen.
It didn't really happen the way I think it was hoped to have happened.
Yeah.
But
well, because we put parameters on what we want God to do and when we want him to do it.
Right.
And so maybe it is your calling to play boring contemporary worship music in church on Sunday morning, but
it might be
when it's time.
But he hasn't told me that yet.
When it's time, you'll feel it and you'll know it. And maybe it's not. Maybe that's not your calling. Maybe your calling is pick one. Pick one hobby. Maybe that's your calling. I don't know. Because for you, like, created with purpose, God was like, this guy, he just needs to be good at everything, right down to being a husband and being a dad and being a dog dad.
Well, there's Wheaties.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think God tells you that what your calling is. I think he'll make it known to you. But I think that also that you'll have the desire to do it. I don't think, I mean, so like if God called me to be, I don't even know whatever.
An Arby's manager?
Yeah, if that's what his calling is for me. I don't.
You'd be so angry.
I would be angry. But I think it would give me a sense of peace about it, and he would, he would use me to glorify him, and that would in turn give me satisfaction and fulfillment. And but ultimately it may be sometimes a tug of war battle. Like, I don't want to do that, God. Sometimes even now, if you think about people that you meet every day, I think about it a lot, about telling people about Jesus, because ultimately we want to tell people about Jesus, and then we want them to have a relationship with Jesus, and God, and we want all that. But if we don't take that first step and have that conversation, that's never going to happen. But it's very fearful for introverts, people who are introverted. I don't know if I'm introverted or extroverted. I think I have a little bit of both.
I think you're a little of both.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're extroverted around people you know and have some sort of relationship with.
Okay, and introverted on people I don't know.
Yes.
But anyway, when I think about talking to people about Jesus, if I don't know them, it's a little intimidating to me, and I don't want to do it. But once I start, God gives me a sense of confidence about it.
At work, I used to tell people, y'all need Jesus. Now I tell them, church starts at 10:30 on Sunday. So.
Yeah. I threatened the band with that. You guys coming to church tomorrow morning? They don't, but one day they will, and they'll surprise me.
Could happen.
Yeah. So.
I think they've all been.
Yeah, probably. I think that
at one point or another.
You know, being created with a purpose is it's our destiny. It's what we were literally created for a purpose. Like God has us destined for certain things, and He knows what they are. He's planned them out, and He will guide us if we let Him. So I think that we put too much emphasis on our own ideas and our own will.
On our own worldly thoughts and
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
Hopes and dreams.
And what we want. You know, what do we want? Dawn and Cory want to live in the middle of the woods with only their dogs and a fireplace. That's it.
With a big front porch.
With a big front porch. That's it. We would be perfectly 100% content doing that. We think. But we don't. If we were created for a purpose, I feel like if we got that, it wouldn't be enough. We'd need something else, and wouldn't be able to put our finger on it.
Oh, pole barn.
Oh, Lord, what are we putting in the pole barn? Everything.
Everything.
Oh,
all my hobbies.
Oh, Lord.
It's going to be a big pole barn.
Yeah, we need millions of dollars to afford all Cory's hobbies. Yeah, so I think that we think that we want all these things. You know, think about when we were coming up. You know, when we first got married and we're like super poor. I mean, really.
Yeah.
You know, when we just worked hard and we worked hard and we worked hard and we elevated, but it's still not enough. Because look at your hobby hopping. Because you're bored. There's something that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing, but you don't know what that is.
Right.
You know, that same thing with me. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what I'm defined as and what I identify as in this world right now, and I know a lot of things I'm good at, but I don't know specifically what my purpose is. You know I love talking to people about Jesus, and I like seeing people develop a relationship and growing closer and learning, and those kinds of things make me excited. So maybe that's my purpose, but I don't know. I know I'm more satisfied now than I've ever been as far as life.
Yeah.
You know, there's a satisfaction to doing God's work, you know, per se. You hear this dog?
Oh my goodness, dude. She makes me insane.
All right. Anyway, I guess that means it's time to go, since our dog will not stop barking. And I'm sure you didn't hop on this podcast to listen to a dog bark, because that's not good. So once again, if you have any ideas, or you want to talk about something, or if you want to come on the show and share your thoughts, or the podcast, whatever you call it, just reach out. Have a good week.